The next in my series of the 5 fashion scarves is the twisted knot scarf. We've already done the ruffled arrow scarf and we did the fuzzy one just the last time. Now we're going to do this one. And it can be done with a variety of yarns. You can use the Arab cherub, Aran. You could use Patons Canadiana. That's what this one is made out of. You could use brushed alpaca, which would make it a little more fuzzy like this one. Or if you want to go a little bit heavier, you could use the Encore, the Simply Soft Cantata, and the new one, Soft Serve. These are all available on my website. I just put them on a few days ago, so you can research these and you can see all the different colors I have them in. Of course, arrows I've had on my website for many, many years. Now we're going to use this leftover ball of Aran to make it. Now, Aran is a little heavier than the Patons Canadiana, but that's okay. I'm going to use a size 8 needle. I'll use an 8 for this one also. 8 makes it very soft and very fluffy, but I'm going to use the 8 on this one. Now, this is considered the front of the scarf. Let me enlarge it a little bit. You can see these little, like little fans. And then it's all knotted up together underneath right here with this yarn over kind of thing, and which gives it a different look. However, you could do this side too, which is a whole different look to it. It has like the little dashes across and little indentations, so it'll give you another look for the same scarf. I didn't have to block this one because surprisingly this whole thing is done in knit except for the purling 3 stitches together. After that, pretty much everything is knit, which is great. And it's only a 4-row repeat, which is even more awesome. Okay, let's get started. I'm not going to do, well, it's 30 stitches. That's not too bad. I can do 30. Okay, we're going to cast on 30. Now you can use any cast on that you like. Let me take this back a bit. You can do the standard cast on where you start, I believe, with a slip knot on the end, like this, and then wrap it around your thumb and go up. This is the basic one. However, I don't like doing this one because as you knit the next row, the stitches stretch apart and you get a very tight first row. So let me go ahead and show you what it looks like when you do this. You have to make sure you keep them very loose. Most people won't do that. They'll go like this. See, now I got a little line. Then when you do the next one, it's longer. Because what it does, oops, I lost that one. Let me put it back on the needle and try again. Okay. Because each time you do this, what you do is pull that one. And it loosens that one. I mean, it tightens that one. So if you bring it back and keep an eye on what you're doing and don't stretch it apart, because see, once you stretch it apart, that's what it does. And then you have to make up that big loop underneath by stretching it again. Your best bet is to keep them loose and close together. And then this particular cast on will work. But otherwise, you get a very loose stitch or very tight stitch. Another one that can be done is the long tail cast on. There's multiple different types. A lot of them are just the way it's wrapped around your finger. The simple long tail cast on is you use the tail, wrap it around your thumb and go like this. Hold your needles so this hand is free. Grab your ball yarn, wrap it around your needle and push that one over. And you've actually knitted your first row. So you do it again. And don't pull it tight, you want to keep it very loose. Now this one takes a little time because you're doing the cast on and first roll and knit. Now I never count my first roll and knit, just something I just don't do. But this is a nice one to give you a nice finished bottom, so you're all ready to knit. And your stitches are loose, so you don't have to worry about trying to poke your needle in. and all your stitches stay the same length and they don't get tight on you, or they don't get sloppy loose because you've already knitted your first row. The other one is the one I prefer to do, which is the other form of a long tail cast on. You have to make sure you have a long tail. I usually do 10 stitches per 12 inches of tail. It seems to work pretty good for me. Now this is done in what they call the slingshot method. You put your thumb and index finger between your two yarns and pull it down so it makes like an old-fashioned slingshot. You go under your thumb, around your finger, then flip the thumb over. That's the same thing we did before, but where we did this here and then did this with our hand, we're letting the needle do it over that finger because there's the flip like we did on the other one. So it's the same stitch, same way of doing a stitch, but as you can see, the cast on is a lot faster and I need 30 stitches. So you want to make sure you have a long tail because you want the tail to be in this area where your ball yarn is wrapped around your needle. Otherwise you're going to need a very long tail because it takes more yarn to wrap around the needle than to do this little piece here. Let's see, how many do I have here? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 16, 18, 20, 21. Okay, I'll just stop at 24. And then I've got extra long tail. That's okay, I'll just trim it off. I'm hoping 24 will work. Okay, I'm pulling out some yarn, so I have some ready to go. Okay, it starts off with knit 4 rows, increasing 4 stitch evenly across row 1. Let's see. See, by increasing evenly across row 1, it'll still keep going straight. If you don't go evenly, if you don't do that increase, this section will start curving in and this will be puckered out like this. So that extra 4 stitches helps because with all these purling two together, it kind of pulls things a little bit tight. So you increase an extra 4 stitches. And then you, oh, I'm sorry, then you just knit. Okay, the 4 stitch, you can do knit in front and back of the work. That will give you your increase. You go a little bit further. Now I think 4 stitches might be wrong. I think that really should be 3 stitches. So when I do this sample, I'm going to do 3 stitches. You can pull it up this way and do a make one. And I'm sure there's multiple other ways of doing an increase. It just depends on how you want it to look. If you do the increase in the front and back, you get an extra little dash right there. If you just do the one that I did where just a general increase through the loop, you don't see it. So it's entirely up to you which one you want to do. I'll do another one of this other one. You go bring the loop from the previous row and put it on your needle, and then you go through the knit through the back. Sometimes I can't knit through the back for some reason, so when I can, I put it in the front and roll it around the needle. So now it's in the back. Both ways work. I just found this way works better for me. That's if I can get the other yarn to behave. Okay, like I said, I'm just doing 3 because this is in groups of 3. So I think 4 is wrong. You either do 3 increases or 6 increases. So if you want to make your scarf wider, you increase in sets of 3. I'm going to have to write that on here. I'm pretty sure this should be 3 instead of 4, so I'll just do it now. Okay, now they said to knit 4 rows. I'm just going to knit 2 because by knitting 4 rows, let's see, where's it at? You get a nice bottom. Oh, it's there. Here you go. You can see right there. See how I did that? Because I didn't do those extra increases here. So if I had done those extra increases, that would have pulled it out just a smidgen. But you knit 4 rows. I'm only going to knit 2 because I like to get to actually making the scarf. The hardest roll is row 2, because that's the one where you got that purling in. But if you take your time, it can be done. You can't do it with a smaller needle because then it'll mess up your next roll. It's nice to have good points on your needle. Makes a big difference. And then what I do is I put a marker on the side, on the right side of the work. Or actually I do, yeah, the right side where you got the purl 2 together. That's the side I put my marker on. Because the other 3 rolls are just plain knit. Okay, we'll start with the row 1 after this. Like I said, I'm only doing 2 rolls instead of 4, just so we can get through this. Okay, so row 1 is you knit across. This is considered the right side of your work. However, the decoration we're going to do is on the wrong side of the work. It's just the way this pattern works out. Sometimes it does, but the pattern will tell you if it's going to have the decorative stitch on the wrong side, or there's a special stitch to do on the wrong side. Technically, that increase 3 should have been on the 4th roll, not the 1st roll, because you want it up a little higher. I'll write that into it. Knit through 4 rolls, and then knit 1 row increasing 3 stitches evenly across. So I'll fix that before that's one reason why I'm making all these scarves now. It gives me a chance to make the scarves that I have not made in quite a while, to see if there's a couple of little tweaks I need to do to make it work a little better. Okay, let me grab my ruler. See, the increase is in the wrong spot, but that's all right. You'll get the idea. Okay, now here we go. We knit 5. Oh, these are 10s. No wonder they felt thick. These are 10s. But I'm working with a heavier worsted weight yarn, so a 10 is not a bad idea. You can use a 10, an 8, or a 9. Whatever you have available. The bigger the needle, the wider the work will be, and the looser the stitches will be. Okay, I got my knit 5. Now it says purl 3 together, leave the 3 stitches on the left-hand needle. So I brought my yarn in front. Purl 3 stitches together. Leave these on the needle. Then you do a yarn over, purl ways, like that, and then purl the same 3 stitches again together. What that does is purl 3 together first time, takes 3 stitches down to 1. The yarn over adds your 2nd stitch, and the 3rd time you purl the 3 together gives you your 3rd stitch again, so now we still have the same amount of stitches. Because whenever you knit or purl 2 together, you have to find some place in there where you do a make 1 or a yarn over to return that stitch or 2 stitches back to your stitch count. Okay, now we repeat it to the last 5 stitches. Purl 3, yarn over, purl ways, purl 3. It's tight. You can see how it keeps all your stitches in groups of 3. I'll enlarge this a little bit, and then I can show you again. Purl 3 together. Yarn over, purl ways, so your yarn is still in the front, and purl those same 3 again. And then take them down on your needle so that way all the stitches become big again. Because when you do this, the stitches that this needle does have a tendency to be very tiny and tight. So by doing this and then sliding it back, you'll put the looseness back in those stitches. Purl 3, yarn over, purl 3. Now if you watch this thread here, you see how as I'm doing this and pulling them through, that thread moves up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm missing a stitch. Maybe I should have done the 4 increases instead of 3. So what I will do with this last one, I will just purl 2 together, yarn over, purl 2. There, now I've got the right amount, and nobody can really tell that was only a purl 2 because it'll be way down here at the very bitty bottom of your work, and it won't be seen. Then you bring your yarn to the back and you knit the 5 stitches. That's what gives you your 5-stitch border. You can see how they stay in clumps of 3 all the way across. And then what I do is I put a marker on the side that I do the purl. I put a marker on the side where I purl the 3 together. That way as I'm knitting, I don't have to worry about counting the knit rows. And now it says to knit rows 3 and 4. Need more yarn. Now everybody holds their yarn differently. Some do continental where they hold the yarn through the left hand and then they work off the left hand. Where you insert I can do this, but to me it's a little awkward. I'm so used to doing the American throw method. The continental and I don't always get along. You can do it that way. Or what I do is I wrap it around my little finger and then I go under this. So when I squeeze, it holds it tight with the little wrapped around the little finger. Or you can do it like this and put it behind your ring, and when you squeeze your hand, it'll do that too. It just acts as a thread guide, a thread holder, and whatever works best for you. If you want to, you don't do it around your fingers at all. Instead, you just yarn over, knit, just knit, not a yarn over. Knit it this way. This way works too. This is how I started. But then I decided I wanted to use my fingers, so I was doing it this way. But I noticed by doing it this way, a lot of times the thread would go that way off my finger, and I didn't like it doing that. So then I did it this way one day. And I noticed because this is so far back, when it comes here, it stays on the back side of my fingers, right up into that little crook between the 2 fingers, and keeps my yarn from going that way. But you find the way that works best for you. You still do a little bit of a throw, but it's just a little smidgen as you bring your hand forward. Okay, that's row 3. And you see how it gives you this really cute little fan effect. And on the back, it gives you the little dashes. So both sides have its own look. But this will be the side that I do the purl 3 together on, but I still have to knit row 4, which is the back. Okay, I'm just about finished knitting row 4. I'm sorry, row 1, because I did row 4. Now I'm doing row 1, because row 4 was on the back. Okay, there we go. Oh, and that increase 4 is correct. All right, so now when I turn my work, I've got a little bit of stockinette right here. And I got a little bit of garter here, and this garter helps with the overall look of the next row, because the next side has to be smooth. Okay, so let's do our decorative roll again. So we knit 5. Okay, bring the yarn to the front because we're going to purl, so purl 3 together. Yarn over it, purl ways, and knit the same 3 again. And then pull, so they're all the same width again. All right, now we do the next 2. I'm sorry, next 3. Purl 3 together, yarn over, purl 3. I can only do this on the tips of my needles because they're very, very tight when you're purling 3. That's a lot of stitches to purl together. Most times it's just purl 2 and you have plenty of room. But when you're purling 3, you don't always have that extra room. So I had a lot of times kind of drill my needle in just so I can get my point through. Yarn over, pull it through, yarn over, purl ways, and purl 3 together again. Get my tail out of the way. Oops, one fell off my needle. That one fell off, I need to put it back. Okay, there. Sometimes they'll fall off. You just take the tip of your needle and put it back up. Oh, did it again. Caught it that time. Yarn over, purl ways, purl 3 together. See, and if I have 5 left over, now I'm correct with 3 because I made that little 2 instead because I did the 4 increase, 2 and 3 increases instead of the 4. I needed the 4th one. Then that first row would have 3 at the end here instead of 2. And then take the yarn to the back and knit 5. So now we're going to knit rows 3, 4, and 1 again. So you're going to have 3 more rows of knit. So you start on the back, which this is the right side row number 3, and you knit across. Now it's going to be a big space between it because of purling the 3 together. So don't worry about the big space. That's normal with this particular stitch. And when you do the first one, a lot of times the first one gets kind of loose, but don't worry about it. Like see how loose it is? Don't worry about it. That's just what happens with this particular stitch. And the third one will do the same thing, but that's what gives you that wide fan because it kind of stretches it a little bit. Not that you're doing it on purpose, it's just that's what happens. Okay, there I got row 3 done. Actually, that would be row 4. No, that's 3 because this is the right side. The right side is, the wrong side is right there. The right side, so this is row 3 I just finished. And I turn it over to do row 4. Row 4 is on this, on the right, on the wrong side, but we're not doing our pattern row yet because we still got to do row 3 and 4 and 1 to give us this little bit of garter stitch in between. So this is row 4. And after we finish row 4, we do row 1 again, and then row 2 is our pattern. . So this really helps keep you on track. You know you're going to knit one roll across when you see that and then knit back. But when you turn your work the second time, you would do your pattern. Okay, I finished row 4 and I'm back to row 1. And I'm finishing up row 1, and then we'll do one more set of pattern just to make sure everybody has the opportunity to see it. Sometimes I kind of slip off the camera lens a little bit and you miss it once in a while. But you can see there's the design. So the design is actually on the right side, but to make the design, you make the design on the wrong side because the purl stitches are on the back as much as possible. Okay, now let's do row 2 again, knit 5. Bring your yarn to the front because we're going to purl all the way across in pattern. Purl 3 together, yarn over, purl 3. Make sure you pull it down onto the thick part of your needle. That's the important part. Otherwise this row of stitches would be way too tight. Now sometimes if you work at it, you can really loosen them up. Yarn over. It can be done that way also, but that takes a lot of extra pushing, but you can do it if you like. Push it till it's all the way through. Yarn over and push it through again. But you still have to keep these stitches close to the tip to give you that extra room. And there's 2, 3, 4, 5. See, there's 3 more left. My finger slipped. Come on, get through. There. Yarn over. Purl 3 together again. Same 3. And then you bring the yarn to the back and you knit 5. And that's what it looks like on the front. So it can use that as a front or turn it to the back where all these little flares are and do it that way. And then what I do is after I go up a little ways, I move my straight pin up because I want to keep my straight pin fairly close to where I'm at. Because if it's way, 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 way down here, sometimes I don't realize which side I'm on. And you definitely want to make sure your pin is on the side that you do your decorative roll. And then we knit 4 rows again, or 3 rows I should say. I'm going to pause the camera to knit these 3 rows because you know how to do it. I forgot one thing. Say this is our last and final 4 rows of knit, where here it says 6. Because it says repeat rows 1 through 4 to desired length, and then you knit 6, decreasing 4 stitches evenly across the first row of the knit 6. See, I've got my knit 6 already. I've already finished my pattern and I got the extra 4 rows. Then you want to do your decrease of 4 stitches. So you go across the first 5. You don't want to mess up your border row. And you would knit 2 together. There's 1 decrease. And you go across a little bit further, like maybe 5 stitches or 6 stitches. Knit 2 together. Oh, knit 2 together. Almost forgot. I better do the other one right now because I'm running out of stitches. And see, that takes you back down to your original cast on of 30 by decreasing the 4 stitches that you increased. Then you knit another couple of rows. Now, depending on which side you bind off on, will help you decide if you want the bind off to show on the right side or the bind off is on the wrong side. I'll show you on the other scarf I did. Because whatever side is facing up when you do your bind off, you're going to see the chain stitch on that side. Let me get this one done and I'll show you. Okay, now if you bind off on the wrong side, because that's where I'm getting to is the wrong side, because remember this is on the wrong side of your work. So I'm going to bind off half of these on the wrong side and I'll bind off the other half on the right side so you can see what they look like when whichever side you bind off on. So this is binding off on the wrong side. It's the same process. Knit one, pass first stitch over the second. You want to try to do it loose. If for some reason you can't do it loose, you can always go up one size of needle, like instead of an 8, do a 9. That will make these stitches a little bigger on this needle, which helps with your bind off. Or do one of the looser bind offs. Do a couple more. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to knit all the way across the rest of it because I want to show you what it looks like when you bind off on the front of your work. Both ways work, both ways are fine. Depends on how you want your finished front to look. Well, I thought I was halfway. Well, I'm not going to go back. Now I'm going to bind off the rest of these on the front, which to me is the back, because I really like the little fans. So whatever side you bind off on, that's the side you see your bind off roll. Just about done. Four more stitches. Hey, we're getting there. My finger got caught on the thread. Okay, let me finish this one. Pull up your tail. Cut your thread. Put your thread through the loop. And pull it. Okay, now see how you got you can see this bunch of chains across the top. That's what it looks like if you bind off on the front of your work. And when you look at the other side, it has more of a nice finished edge. But if you bind off on the wrong side, which I did here, I bound off on the wrong side because remember this was the wrong side. When you look at the front where the pretty fans are, you have that nice, looks like a garter stitch on the end versus this thick edge right there. So it's your choice, whichever way you want to bind off. Let me get this out of your way so you can see it a little better. This is binding off on your front of your work, and it makes it kind of a thick edge. And this is what, if you bind off on the back of your work, now the thick edge is on this side, and the little purl, a little thinner edge is there. So you just decide which side you want the finished bumpy side to look, and which side you want the chain and the thicker section to look. It's up to you. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please subscribe to my channel, hit notifications so each time I have a new one done, you will have the opportunity to see the next one All the yarns are available at stitchniche.com, as well as the patterns. Thank you and have a nice day.